Good evening or good morning fellow Black Desert players, and welcome to the Marni Stone experience video, at least the part 1. So in this one I'm going to be discussing about what I found out from my level 57 sorceress and my level 61 wizard, and in the later part 2 or even more I'm going to be discussing about the other levels and if there's anything else left to cover. Before I get any further, I should probably mention what the stone is and where you can get it for those who didn't use it yet. So basically you can pick up the stone from these NPCs and you need to kill 250 or 500 of one specific type of monster, and when you are done you can turn this stone in at the same NPC and get experience in return. And the nice thing about this stone is that you can actually get as many as you can fit in your inventory and just go out and grind for hours and hours, and when you are done you return to this same NPC, you turn the stone in and you get all of your experience at once. Now I'm going to try to keep this video somewhat brief because the first version was way too long and way too full of numbers, so when I started to record this I was fairly certain that I have the level 57 and level 61 stones figured out, but I soon found out when I found this page basically that does not belong to me, that stones give different experience values for different areas. And for this part 1 I only tested bashims, fogans and nagas, and since I got the same experience value from these three areas I was pretty sure that, as I said, that I had the stone figured out. But I'm pointing this now just to make sure that you guys understand that this test is only part 1 and it's not the full experience table. So let's get started. Compared to my normal experience videos, I'm not going to be showing an experience per minute or experience per hour value, because on my tests I just took 4 stones for each area and I basically killed exactly 2000 monsters, and then I turned the stones in and I compared the stone experience to the monster experience. So it's going to be experience per 2000 monsters. Also, I did make sure to keep on switching channels when people would activate the bell buffs and to stop the test on the night time, so the experience was consistent for the actual mob experience. So I'm going to be discussing about my data for the level 57 sorceress, as I said, on the fogans, nagas and bashim area. And in order to allow the footage to play in the background properly, let's start first with the nagas area. For this one, basically I just took 4 stones for the 500 monsters. I went into the desert, I killed exactly 2000 monsters and I made sure to have the experience consistent, and at the end I got about 7% experience from the monsters and exactly 0.607% experience per stone after I turned them in. So basically 2.4% or around that for the 4 stones. If you want exact experience values you can just watch those on the screen, I don't want to read out all of the numbers. Moving on, after I finished testing nagas, I just wanted to make sure that the experience for the stone was consistent, so I repeated the same test with again 4 stones and 2000 monsters for the fogans area. Here again, as I said, I did exactly the same test, and at the end I got about 7.3% experience from the monsters, so this one is slightly higher just because fogans have a slightly higher experience rate, and in total again 0.6% experience per stone and 2.4% from the 4 stones. So if I were to compare fogans to nagas in terms of just a stone, it's exactly the same value. And moving on to the last level 57 test, which was bashims, just because it was close to the bazaar city, I repeated the same test, and again I'm going to repeat myself by saying that I got 4 stones and I killed 2000 monsters. Again, I just want to have the video in the background playing properly just because I want to show them and I want to show them. So at the end I got 6.6% experience from the 2000 monsters and the same experience from the stones. Having said all of that, when I started testing, I was fairly certain that this was the final value and that the level 57 stone would always give me 0.6%, just because I had 3 areas tested, until I just found this page and it turns out that fogans, nagas and bashims have the same stone value, basically the same value, while the other areas have different experience values. So I cannot say that the 0.607% is the final level 57 value, but for fogans, nagas and bashims it is. And now to make some form of small conclusion, basically by comparing the value from the monsters and the stone, I can say that from my test I got about 34% more experience for the nagas area, 33% for the fogans area, and about 36% for the bashims area. This is just from comparing the data that I got while testing on a weekend. So I should mention that the total experience that I was getting from the mobs was 219%, including the weekend buff, and basically if you want to grind on a weekend, these are the values that you're going to be getting. When I started testing for this video, I was not expecting to get these high experience values, but it turns out that nowadays if you want to grind for experience, you're pretty much wasting your time if you don't buy these stones. So the conclusion for the level 57 is the one on the left side of the screen and also the one on the right side, because if you want to grind without weekend buff, basically anytime during the week, without using experience buffs, so just having the costume, the 3% pets maybe, and the 6% from titles, you're going to get the values on the right side of the screen, which are 63% increase in experience for the nagas, 60% for fogans, and about 67% for bashims. So these are the level 57 values, at least for the fogans, nagas and bashims area, because if what Luxienna posted is correct, it means that the other areas don't share this 0.607% value per stone. Anyway, we can discuss about the other areas in a different video, but so far if you are a level 57 player, you are most definitely going to get about 35% increase in experience during a weekend and about 60 to 65% increase in experience during a normal week, unless you use other food buffs and stuff like that. But basically the experience from the stone is consistent and it doesn't matter at all how fast or how slow you grind, because this is experience per stone. So basically if you kill 5000 monsters per hour, you can fill 10 stones, and if you kill only 500 per hour, you're only going to fill 1 stone, and overall it's going to be the same increase in experience. Moving on from level 57, the other test that I did, as I said, was on my level 61 wizard, and this one was only done on the nagas area, because at this point when I actually did the test, I was fairly certain that since these 3 areas share the same value, it means that the stone gives the exact same experience for all areas. So on my wizard I only tested the nagas area, but as we know so far it can apply to fogans and bashims as well. The wizard test, or more precisely the wizard conclusion, was way more interesting to me than the sorceress one, because the experience scaling is way different. When I did the wizard test, I basically repeated the same process of buying 4 stones and killing exactly 2000 monsters with the consistent experience scaling, and the result was that I got about 0.044% experience from the monsters on my wizard. Sadly this cannot get any more accurate because that's how much the game displays, but in terms of stones, after turning in all of those 4 stones, I got 0.075% experience. So to my surprise, I actually got more experience from the stones than I did from the actual mobs. Comparing the wizard results to the sorceress ones, it's actually quite huge difference, because if I am to do the same thing with 219% experience for a weekend and 119 for a normal week, it's going to be 170% more experience during a weekend and 313% more experience during a week. So basically, if you are level 61 and you go and grind nagas on a week without using some experience buffs, you're going to get 3 times the experience from the mobs on the stones. This is actually quite huge, because if you can get 4 times the experience by just spending a little bit of silver, it makes leveling up to 62 way easier. I mean, imagine that if it takes me 45 minutes to fill 4 of these stones, it means that I only need 5 stones per hour to actually get 4 times the experience that I would normally get at level 61, or at least on the nagas area. So to spend about $500,000 to get 4 times the experience, it's pretty much a no-brainer. Anyway, I would actually love to hear what you guys think about this. I know this short test is not everything that the stones can offer, and initially I wanted to make only 2 parts for this kind of series. Basically, I wanted to cover level 57 and 61 today, and level 58, 59 and 60 tomorrow. But if you get different experience values for different areas, except these 3 that I already tested, it means that I will probably have to make more than 2 videos. But I would like to ask you guys to leave in the comment section below the values that you get at your level, because this is actually pretty easy to test. All you have to do is to take a screenshot before turning in 1 stone and after turning in 1 stone. And this way we can know exactly how much experience you get for each area and for different levels, because I expect you guys to be between level 57 and 61. So I should probably end the video now, and I want to say that if this video sounds somewhat different than the others, it's just because this is the second time I record it and I got quite bored of reading out the numbers from my notepad again and again. So thanks for watching if you made this so far. I hope this was helpful to you in some way, and I'm going to see you probably tomorrow or soon enough in the part 2, just because I pretty much have most of it tested, or at least the nagas area. So yeah, see ya later.